The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
On the K-Jazz Show, we don't just announce concerts. We step inside the sound before the first note is played. And of course, on the 6th of March 2026 at exactly 6:30, the Lit Culture and Breeze Block Cafe in Brixton opens its doors for an intimate live performance by saxophonist Muhammad Dawjee. And he is joined by Ntlantla Khatebe on the upright bass and Sipiwe Shiburi on the drums. Of course, they call themselves the Dawjee Trio. And they promise us a night of deep listening where breath, silence, and resonance are not background elements. However, they are the architecture of the music itself. And of course, for the Jozi Jazz Plug this Sunday, we spend time, with Muhammad on the K-Jazz Show. We talk about mistranslation and the lineage, and suppose Guma and swing, and the audience become, the fourth member of the band. Welcome to the show, brother. Welcome back. Actually, you are one of the family members of the K-Jazz Show, and it's always powerful to connect with you, before a performance like this, especially the one that promises such intimacy, such closeness and artistry,
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's been a while since we've spoken, and I really appreciate you keeping tabs the way you do, because it helps us to know that we're not working for just ourselves and in our own rehearsal rooms, as you see behind me.
That's right.
Yeah, and I look at the size of this room. It's a tiny room.
It looks massive from where I'm sitting.
It's maybe like 3x4. And it's this obvious limitations to what I can do here and how many people I can host here. So you asked the question about why a small room and why a trio, or maybe implied the question as to why a trio, and it comes from that. It comes from making music from the spaces that I actually inhabit. This is the studio that I practice in, and I create music in, and I live in on a daily basis. I spend most of my time here, and although there is a piano on the side, it is the home of the trio, and the trio sound is kind of born out of this environment. So for me, it's very important to honor that, and to honor the kind of ritual and the character that's associated with that, right? So it wouldn't be I hope to play on much bigger stages at some day, but I haven't even thought that far yet. I just think about how do I bring the audience into this intimacy? How do I bring them into the character of this space without losing anything? And so that's the intention. Breeze Block also, it's honoring an invitation by Lit Culture, who asked us to come and make this offering. So yeah, whatever size the room is, we will occupy. We will deliver. We will occupy and deliver what is necessary.
Mo, you've worked on across several large ensembles, rather. Talking from The Brother Moves On, we saw you being a part of that, to Ipupol Gabigo, but the trio feels different. What happens to your sound when in that it's stripped down, or maybe in a stripped down setting, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know what happens to it, but I can tell you what it feels like.
Go for it.
It feels like, it feels urgent, and it feels like every note matters. It feels exposed in a way that requires the presence of all the members of the band, but also requires my own presence, right? It's like very vulnerable. So that's really the difference. I think bigger projects tend to be more orchestrated, arranged, and they need to be in order to really make their offering in the way that they do. There are a lot more energies and dynamics. A smaller setting like a trio allows us to have a much richer and deeper conversation, actually. So it allows the music to be more intentional and intense, and it's more meaningful for me actually to play in that kind of setting. Every note matters, every gesture matters, every silence matters as well.
Yeah. And I want to take you back more, Kofifi FM, spending time with Muhammad Dawjee this Sunday. And if you've just joined us, it's all about his upcoming event at the Breeze Block. And he is part of the Jozi Jazz Plug this Sunday as we plug you into the bandstands, near you. And going back to otherness, Mo, you've described incorporating Guma, not as a purist, but reclaiming, and of course, as also a mistranslation, acknowledging displacement, apartheid, forced removal, such a layered concept. Let's reflect on that. And I think it's been a while, since we had this conversation. Maybe let's reflect on since that track dropped,
Yeah, so I mean, the track was part of a bigger project which I only released last year in its totality. I held on to it for a long time because I was not sure what to do with it, and I think I had bigger ambitions for it than what it really ended up being, which is a 6-track EP. And I had to eventually come to terms with that. I also lost my dad while making it, and that was a kind of setback in my life, which I needed time to process. The project was about thinking through these different strands that make up my identity. Apartheid was a very homogenizing project. It was intended to categorize people along lines of delineate them in very definite boxes so that they could divide and apportion privileges to those people differently and get them to dislike each other. And I think it was quite successful in doing that. Bizarrely successful, let me put it that way. And we also acknowledge the science behind that, like that was actually a science to that. So growing up in the post-apartheid as a sort of born free, I was given these identities. I was in an Indian township. I was told I'm Indian, and I, for the longest time, those things. My first project, Kinsman, was about even interrogating my identity through that lens. But later on, as I started to interrogate or observe how different my life was, how music is such an integral part of not only my life but my immediate family's life, how started certain songs and melodies started to come back to me from childhood, how I started to look back and trace my ancestry a little bit and question things that I taken for granted, like my father and my father's entire family speaking Afrikaans as their primary language. These people were categorized Indian, but they were not Indian. And so there's that whole disjuncture. There's also the thing that my grandfather started a brass band in Lodium called the Pretoria Muslim Youth Brigade. It was one of the founding members, which is still ongoing. And it's very uncharacteristic for Muslim people, Indian Muslim people in South Africa, to be involved with music. So I started to question that, and I started to listen to, well, what are these people playing? And they are actually playing a Guma. They're doing a Guma march, and that Guma march is not quite the same as the Guma marches in Cape Town, but it is still a Guma march. So it's about the movement of the sound across the country and the people across the country, and then also how that's kind of really in my frame of reference, and something that I want to acknowledge and move with as well.
You're joining us this Sunday, and of course, we're talking about the upcoming gig with the lit culture all the way in Breeze Block. And of course, you've always said before that the audience becomes the fourth member of the ensemble in a space like, Breeze Block and lit culture. Let's talk about, what our audiences can expect. It's poetry, it's jazz, it's culture coming together. Let's reflect. And of course, tell our audiences what they can look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Lit Culture is doing incredible work. You can check them out online. You can see some of the publications and articles that they've put out reflecting on our time, reflecting on the kind of thinking that's going on. And I think they're also dealing with the archive in a very beautiful way. It's centered around Black and African thought. And their collection, they're primarily a bookstore, but their collection is trying to hold certain objects in conversation and in dialogue. So I'm really honored that they invited us to be part of that. And even in the curation of the event, there was a back and forth between us about what do I want to talk about, like what is the concept for the performance or the gig, and he, Kulani and Kuna, the convener, he kept asking like, do you have anything more to write? Do you want to send? And because he's in the writing space, he's like, send me some more text,
Coolest cat ever, by the way. The coolest cat ever, by the way.
He's really doing amazing work, and I said to him eventually, the rest is in the music. Like, you just have to come, like, let me do the text in the music. But that aside, I think. It's going to be it's a cultural thing, right? I see it as a cultural event, as a sonic event. I call it a situated sonic event because it will only happen in that way, in that space, in that situation, and it will never happen again. And that's really what we want to address. So if you're going to be there, to the audience, if you're going to be there, come prepared to sort of immerse yourself in everything that it offers, and we're also keen to hear your reflections and your ideas, and bring your energy. That's a very important aspect of our offering, is to sort of constellate the energy of the room, to hold the energy of the room, and to do something with that is transformative, that unlocks another dimension that we were not yet even aware of sometimes.
Sounds like such a great and, of course, fulfilling and also wholesome gathering of music and minds here on Kofifi FM 97.2. We are with Muhammad Dawjee, and we are talking about his upcoming event. It happens in Brixton. And kind of also just, got into the background more. Although the history behind Brixton has a lot of music around it, it is just a stone throw away from Sophia Town, our home, Kofifi, and of course Westbury and the Claremont and Melville and many other precincts, that we talk about when we talk about music, and particularly jazz, the jazz, narrative. And you come together, with this presentation alongside incredible musicians. I mean, let's talk about the trio. What are they bringing to the sonic experience?
I mean, I've known these beautiful gentlemen for a very long time now, and I'm so honored to have met them and to have worked with them. Spiwe, I'll start with Spiwe. I think he's one of the most risk-taking improvisers around. He's not afraid of anything. I know with Spiwe I can walk into darkness, and the only time we'll stop is if one of us stops first. That's the only time we'll stop. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. So I trust him immensely, and he's been so influential in the sound of this trio, because he can be very harsh, for lack of a better word, or abrupt or direct, but he can also be extremely sensitive. He holds those extremes very, very well. He's a storyteller in his music, and I'm very happy to share and break bread with him in the many ways I do. And in Kanta Khadebe, we haven't played together in the trio format in some time. Bass players have been a bit of an oscillating seat in the band. purely due to, life changes, people getting new opportunities and going overseas, people starting families and so forth. So we're going to touch base again in the trio format for the first time in a couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to it because he's really a stalwart. Like he's been on the scene, he's played with everybody. He's paid his dues. He's a rock solid anchor, which is what you need in a bass player. But I'm also looking forward to tickling his curiosity about where the music can go in the absence of other things like piano and guitar.
Absolutely something to look forward to. And of course, in the setting that is Breeze Block, that is very culturally rich. And of course, in a neighborhood that is very, I think, I wouldn't want to use the word forgotten. It's not forgotten, but it still holds its own, in a specific space in the South African, maybe supposedly the Johannesburg culture scene, and for those that are joining us on the 6th of March at exactly 6:30, what are we stepping into more? What can we expect when we arrive?
So first off, I'm not sure if we're going to start exactly at 6:30 because, some people are observing Ramadan also. Yeah. So we might give people an opportunity to break their fasts, and those who are in attendance. And then we'll kick off. The main offering is from my upcoming album called Otherwise, which is a bit of a surprise to you. I can see your face. Which was recorded last year, and it consists of about 10 to 12 tracks. The narrative continues primarily informed by my own journey, but I also try to extend the themes into things that are common to all of us. So, Otherwise, Let's Vie, Born Free Blues, Shukran and Afwan, which you've played on the show before. Those are some of the tracks that come to mind. But the tracks themselves, they operate on two levels. The one is to give us a kind of narrative anchor, something to think through together as an audience and a band. And then on the second, I see them like as signposts, So they just guide us. They guide the playing. They guide the playing in different directions. And whether the players want to take the turn or not, it's really up to them,
And of course, we love hearing all about it here on Kofifi FM 97.2. And as you and I wrap up the Sunday, for the Jozi Jazz Plug feature every single Sunday between 12:30 and 1 o'clock before we wrap things up for today's edition. Muhammad, on the 6th of March 2026, maybe not at 6:80, but around 7:15. I don't know. I'm not imposing. Lit Culture and Breeze Block bring together in Brixton, becomes a room for deep listening. And the Dawjee Trio, of course, that's Muhammad Dawjee, Ntantla Khatebe, and Smpiwe Shiburi, will be an active conversation allowing histories to sound in the present tense. And of course, if you are serious about sound, this is where you need to be, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. We want to encourage listening. We want to encourage presence. We want to encourage... we want to get back to being connected, to this.
And the fellowship thereof. Absolutely, of course. Thank you so much, Muhammad Dawjee, for joining us this Sunday. And of course, I look forward to my ticket in the mail, of course, when that happens. Right.
You know it, man.
For this edition of the Jozi Jazz Plug, he is Muhammad Dawjee. And of course, he was on the K Jazz Show.